So if you're an athlete or an individual who's currently dealing with some knee pain in the patellar area, here's going to be a description or overview of what tendons are and a full rehab plan for you. So what are tendons? So tendons are basically what connects the muscle to the bone through strong elastic properties and helps you transfer force that you generate from your legs up into like a vertical jump, or when you're doing squats, or some fast movements. So you can think of tendons like springs. So when you go into a fast movement of going down and up, for example, like a vertical jump, right? You're going to be using that stretch shortening cycle and really lengthening the tendon, right? And the moment that you jump up, it's just basically going to snap and release all of that elastic energy to help you with your vertical jump. So tendons can be super strong, but as mentioned earlier, what do I mean by strong elastic properties, right? How can you be strong and elastic? Diving into a pool, right? If you're just going, full belly button, belly flopping into the pool, you're going to probably be getting some red marks onto your body, and it's going to hurt a lot, right? And the water is being very resilient when you kind of basically dive into it, like splat on like this. But it can be pliable in the sense that, let's say if you're going to the pool slowly, then it allows you to kind of basically dive into it. So when we do get knee pain around the patellar or quad tendon area, it usually is related to a lot of loading into the tendons in a short amount of time. So for most people, when they get tendon pain, is usually because they did too much too soon whilst doing too little for too long periods of time. So they basically spiked up their volume workload from 0 to 100. And for example, when we do jump a lot, there's always going to be micro tears in the tendon. And after 24 to 36 hours, our tendons usually will naturally heal and be able to repair quick enough in order to be stronger as a tendon. But for example, if you do too much workload in a short amount of time, there's going to be too much micro tears in the tendon. Breaking down process is going to be much quicker than the reparation. So you're going to be feeling your tendon being damaged and might need it to, patellar tendinopathy, tendinosis, or just some type of tendon damage. So spiking your workload volume is definitely one of the big reasons why you get anterior knee pain in the patellar or quad tendon area. And that's usually due to insufficient preparation for your body to handle that amount of volume. So to kind of start things off, if your pain on the tendon site is very, very painful and you're not able to even squat down to maybe halfway or completely, because when you do it completely, right, so, your tendon is going to be compressed and it will probably feel irritated or uncomfortable for you and even possibly aggravate some pain. So initially in the early stages, you probably don't want to get into a full range of motion, right? Probably stick to the range that is pain-free for you. And possibly just before the pain comes on, you probably want to be a 1 to 2 inch higher before and stay in that position for maybe isometric. So for the first stage, right, I'm using the leg extension here. Isometrics is going to be a great way to really just load that tendon without aggravating it. So for some people, they might feel pain at the 90-degree position. Some might be feeling it a little earlier in the quarter squat, right? So really try to find the angle that doesn't aggravate it for you as much. And usually for the leg extension, right, I will go for 4 sets of 45 seconds. You can start off with double leg and you're just going to come up, right? And maybe for you, this angle will feel comfortable, right? And until you drop here, it's starting to feel relatively uncomfortable in the patellar area. So you probably want to kick it up a little higher. And here, you're just basically going to chill, right? You can look at your phone, you can text messages, you can hold it for longer if you want, but usually 45 to 60 seconds is what I prescribe. And after that, you can just put it down and you're going to be doing 3 to 4 sets of that. And once double leg feels relatively easier in the future, of course, you can do it the single leg extension. So what you want to do is you're going to come up with both legs, but you're going to leave one out. And this will really target that patellar tendon even more and really work on the isometric strength of your quads and the tendon. And once isometrics feels relatively easy for you, the next stage for you is to load it eccentrically. So this will slowly lengthen the tendon under load, and this will be a really, really good stimulus to load that patellar or quad tendon area. And I usually would recommend heel elevation for squats, just so ankle mobility, firstly, is not an issue. And secondly, your center of mass is a little bit more forward. So then you're loading the quads a little bit more, which is exactly what we want. And from here, you're just going to hold, a dumbbell, kettlebell, doesn't really matter, right? And you're just basically going to go really, really slow down. You're possibly going to go for 15 to 20 seconds down, really controlling every inch of that range all the way down, right? Maybe for you at the bottom right here, you're feeling your tendon here to be compressed and doesn't feel comfortable. So you're only maybe going to drop before you feel that pain. And then you're going to slowly come back up as well. And you're going to go back down again, controlling very, very slowly, right? It could be around 8 seconds down and then 8 seconds up for it. Quick interruption here. If you're an athlete who's tired of being injured, slow, and immobile, check out the link in group description below for exclusive access to programs, content, and weekly calls, and you get all that for free. Back to the video. And of course, once you feel relatively comfortable with going 50 seconds down and 50 seconds up, right, we really want to increase the load. So the time under tension now with the barbell won't be as much. It will possibly be 6 to 8 seconds down and then 6 to 8 seconds up, right? Really controlling the range. And I usually would go for around 50 to 65% of your 1RM if you do know where your 1RM is. If not, you can just go for a weight that is relatively challenging and slowly push that weight up until you feel a little bit uncomfortable, maybe 1 to 2 out of 10, but you don't really want to push over a 3 out of 10 in total. So it's literally the same thing, right? You can do it in back squat. You can do it in a front squat position. Front squat will probably load the quads area a little bit more. And with back squats, you can load the glutes a little bit more and it won't feel as heavy for your upper back to be fatigued. So right here, you're just going to go 6 seconds down, really, really controlling every inch of that range. If you feel like the bottom is very uncomfortable, you can go up a little higher, just hold it there, right? Or if it's possible for you, go all the way down, maintaining tension, and slowly come back up. And once you're feeling very comfortable with these eccentric barbell back squats or barbell front squats, and you're feeling a lot of progress, what you can do now is loading it quickly, right, with some eccentric loading. So just by dropping down and coming back up, it's also quite a lot of eccentric loading onto your tendons. And this is also another way to increase tension in our body, especially in the tendons. So what we want to do, right, you can basically come into here, right, and you just wanted to drop down quick and reverse all of that momentum. So right here, you can basically drop into a full squat or half squat. Dropping to a 90-degree position for this exercise will be much more stress to the patellar tendon region. And this would just be good for some real force development, right? Eccentric RFD for the body to work on that stimulus or reversing all of that and giving some speed stimulus into the tendons. And alongside with the fast eccentric reps of dropping down and reversing all that momentum to get up. Now, you can basically do some death drops as well, right? Really slowly integrating back into our sport, especially for jumping. So, and slowly work your way up until your vertical jump height. So for me, it might be 32 inches, right? So I'm really trying to stack this up until 32 inches and being able to hold the bottom position, athletic posture. So for example here, right, I'm just gonna drop and you're gonna stick that for 2 to 3 seconds, and then you're just going to repeat that, right? You're just gonna have one foot out, boom, and stick it. And of course, once you feel comfortable, increase that height. Same exact thing. Here, drop, and come up, right? And you can also, of course, do variations as well. So you can do with heels down, right? Or basically your midfoot touching, and then just trying to find your 3-point of contact of the foot. So your base of big toe, pinky, and your heels, right, to firmly ground onto the floor. And once you feel comfortable with that, you can try to just do it with the balls of the foot here without your heels touching the floor. And for example, in your gym, if you don't have something to stack up boxes like these, what you can do is just here, right, step onto something as high as possible, and then just jump up and squat into this position, hold that landing, stick it for 2 to 3 seconds. And once 2-foot depth drop holdings feels relatively easy for you, now what you can do is basically just drop off this box, stick with single leg, hold it, find your balance, and just reset again. And of course, with the left foot, same thing, drop, find your balance, then come back up. And finally, once those stages are done and you're feeling really, really comfortable now, you can slowly integrate plyometrics into your workout routine, right? You can do some pogo hops just so, like this, right? Really slowly, gradually increasing the intensity, going higher and higher, right, which will increase the demand of your tendons in your Achilles and your patellar tendon. And from there, you could go from leaps into bounds, into hops, which I do talk in my other video about the different tiers of plyometrics on my YouTube channel. But the most important thing for you will be slowly scaling jumps back into your workout routine. So maybe for the first 2 weeks, you'll be only doing maybe 10 to 20 jumps, but you're only doing it at a 50 to 60% intensity. So you might only be aiming for the backboard, trying to aim for that height, right? Try to really hone in on the jumping mechanics and just absorb the force that you're landing with and see whether that aggravates your knee pain. If you feel like from jump 1 to jump 10 is fine, and then from jump 11, jump 12, you're starting to feel that pain creeping in, it's probably a good sign for you to call it a day with that session for the jumps and possibly do some other exercises. Maybe you can do sprints because that will be a little bit lower loading onto the patellar and maybe more on the Achilles, and just possibly do less jumps and finding things that will load the patellar tendon less. So hopefully within these 10 to 15 minutes, you were able to understand what tendons are, how they get injured, and the rehab process for healing the tendon. It might take more than weeks or months. Some people might be faster on the from phase 1 to phase 2. Some people might be slower. Do not rush it. Everyone's journey will be a little bit different. The worst thing you can do right now is jumping from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 very quickly, which will re-aggravate all your knee pain and reset your whole rehab process back to step 1. And of course, if you're wanting more help with these knee pain and not sure about the sets and reps or exercises to do with it, I do have a free school community where I put down 10 programs from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. If you're wanting some free programs, complete sets and reps, you can click the description below and there will be a free school community for you to join, and I'll see you on the inside.